Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Bree Kimberly. I am a nurse here at North Kansas City Hospital in Community Health and Wellness. Thanks for joining us on this rainy day here in Kansas City. We're excited to bring you the session on mindfulness, a topic that's increasingly relevant in today's fast-paced world. So whether you're here out of curiosity or maybe you're looking for practical tools to support your well-being, you're in the right place. So let me introduce you to our speaker today, Sidney Patrick. Sidney is a field specialist in nutrition and health education with the University of Missouri Extension. She offers programming focused on active aging, healthy eating, physical activity throughout the Kansas City area. Through her work with both state and local partners, Sidney helps deliver real-world solutions to some of Missouri's biggest challenges, especially in the areas of educational access, health, and overall well-being. So please help me welcome Miss Sidney Patrick, and I'll turn it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Bree. Welcome in, everybody. Like she said, I'm Sidney Patrick, and I'm with the University of Missouri Extension. So oftentimes people either know exactly what Extension is, or they haven't heard of it before, or just don't know that they've already gone to an Extension event. But Extension is kind of the outreach arm of the university, because we don't want to of education or opportunities. So we want to bring Mizzou, Missouri education to you here in your communities. So you have extension professionals all over the counties, in every single county in Missouri, on a wide basis of topics. So I am health and nutrition, but there's also 4-H, agriculture, horticulture, art, you name it, we have it. So if you ever need anything, check out your extension website and you can get a program near you. So one of the programs, the one we're going to go over today, is taking control of your life with mindfulness. So I do anything in nutrition and health, which is very, very broad. And this is definitely one of the health topics that's up and coming, or just has been talked about a lot, because people want to know, how can I change my life, or how can I calm myself? How can I be more into my day-to-day things with this fast-paced world? Mindfulness is one of those opportunities, and it's one of those opportunities at low to zero cost. So in order to talk about mindfulness, though, we need to start with what's going on up top. So we got to start up with the brain. So what happens in our brain really controls a lot about and impacts a lot of our day-to-day life. So we're going to watch a short video here to just see what's happening up top, and then we'll get more into mindfulness and what it is.
The human brain is a profoundly complex organ. 90% of its activity occurs beneath conscious awareness, which means that even though we assume that we have some control of how we think, feel, and behave, modern science suggests it's not so simple. The concept of neuroplasticity is a new and exciting area of science. It highlights that our brain is constantly being reshaped throughout our lives by both our experiences and our thoughts. We now know that it is the focus of our awareness that determines which brain networks are strengthened and which are weakened or lost. That means that when we get caught up in cycles of worry or irritability, these are the networks within the brain that become stronger. So the more we worry, the better we become at worrying. However, on the other side of this, if we practice being calm, clear, and focused, we can strengthen these networks too. As humans, our brain differs from other animals. This is mostly due to the front areas of the brain called the frontal lobes, often called the new brain, as it was the last to develop in our evolution. When well developed, this part of our brain helps us to manage our strong emotions and respond with flexibility, even when we feel overwhelmed. It also helps us to tune into the feelings of others with empathy and insight. When we feel worried, distracted, or stuck on achieving goals, our brain function is more strongly dominated by our old brain, which has a part called the amygdala. The amygdala manages the powerful fight and flight response, which switches on when we feel stressed or anxious and releases hormones and chemicals such as cortisol and adrenaline. That is why stress has such a big impact on us. Mindfulness is a technique that can help us to manage this process more effectively by building our skills of attention, concentration, and a capacity to direct our awareness in a certain way. This all means that we're less likely to be swept up by a strong emotion and the power of the amygdala. It also means we can bring choice to our emotions and our thoughts. In doing so, we're playing an active role in changing the way the structure of our brain develops, in much the same way we can change the shape of our body by doing certain exercises at the gym. When we practice meditation regularly, we build a capacity to become aware of thinking and emotion. As our mind becomes more settled, our nervous system is able to take in more accurate information, and we can access capacities for creativity, flexibility, and lateral thinking, which enable us to manage challenging situations more skillfully. When we build skills of mindfulness, we still experience negative feelings like frustration, disappointment, fear, or irritability. But the research shows that we recover much more quickly. We now know from research into brain development that regular meditation and mindfulness practice reduces the size of the amygdala, reduces levels of stress hormones, and strengthens connections to the frontal lobes. This all means that we're more likely to live with less stress and more happiness.
Okay, so that's just a little bit about what's happening in your brain just in general. And one thing I love to highlight about it is that it's never too late to have a change in your mind. So it mentioned people who are often stressed, their brain is just used to being stressed, it's used to that environment and tends to stay there, but it's not something you're stuck with. So you can train your way out of that, but it's one step at a time and it looks different for everyone. So I'm going to go on a couple options. We're going to start pretty broad with mindfulness, and then we're going to narrow it deeper and deeper for options for you or just anyone and the amount of time that you have. So if you have any questions throughout this, you can put any comments, questions, concerns in the chat, and I'll try to get to those, or we could just do it at the end. Up to you. But I want you to start by looking at this image. So I have an image up of a fireplace, and you know just a little bit about mindfulness. So I want you to think about this fire. And I think about fall. I think about the weather becoming cooler. I think it's easier to do things outside, like it's not summer and you don't want to be away from the heat. I have a memory about roasting marshmallows over a fire, and then the sound of the fire, the crackling. And then I can even think about getting close to that fire, how I start to feel a warmth, think about how it smells, how I smell after. And I think about how that marshmallow could taste, especially if it was with a graham cracker and chocolate. So a lot comes to mind when just looking at a photo. So when you see this photo, what comes to mind for you? So go ahead, type it in the chat if anything comes up. I hear crackling, fall. Okay, so good comments. So lots of things. This is a very basic form of mindfulness. So being able to see an image and think about how you feel looking at it or being in that moment. So if you were actually in front of the fire, thinking about where you are in that point of time. So I love something basic like that of just, that was simple. I know how I feel. I know what I went through with that moment. So we want to start out with, what do you know about mindfulness? So you can type that in the chat if you know anything about mindfulness, or if you're like, this is my first time, I'm getting into it, that is completely fine. Or if you're like, I'm an expert, let us know and we can talk about your practices. And as you type in the chat, we want to think about why mindfulness. So mindfulness started to become popular a long time ago, actually. So 1979, it was starting to come into practice when Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, he created this program to reduce stress for individuals. So he was at the University of Massachusetts, and he developed this program for people who suffered high levels of stress and had chronic illnesses. So he saw people with illness had a high amount of stress, and he wanted to lower that amount of stress when dealing with the illness. And so he created an 8-week mindfulness program, and the program increased participants' self-awareness and proved successful. So many medical facilities and clinics around the world started using this mindfulness practice, and now it's been so long that we can also use it in our day-to-day lives. But one of the important things is it looks different for everybody. So that's why we start out pretty broad, and then we'll go in deeper about what it is. So in a very broad form, mindfulness is the habit of living in the moment. And this sounds odd, I know it may, but for me, this means not thinking about the past or worrying about the future. I often catch myself thinking about past conversations when there's nothing you can do about it, or thinking about what I need to do later in the day instead of being in that exact moment I'm in and thinking about how I feel then. Because then later I'll be thinking about that moment that I just had instead of enjoying it when I'm there. I think a really good form of this, or an example, is when you're on vacation. So the whole time you're so excited planning the vacation, thinking about the future. And then when you're actually in the vacation, you're thinking about what you're going to do next, or something you did previously, or what's left at work while you're on vacation. So we want to practice mindfulness because it's a way to be living in the moment, accept the moment, and this will help lower stress. So this does take practice though, because we are always on autopilot doing things all day long, not thinking about what we're doing. And so it's not something that we're going to learn about today and instantly be great at. It's something you practice and get better at with each day. And a big part of mindfulness is when you're trying to live in the moment and see what's happening now. When thoughts arise, whether it's a thought about something you need to do later today or a thought of something you did back in high school, you want to accept the thought and let it go. So don't be too hard on yourself of, oh my gosh, I messed up my mindfulness. I was thinking about something else when I should have been focused in the moment. It's okay. You just want to accept it and let it pass. And a lot of people think mindfulness might mean like spending hours on the floor cross-legged and chanting a mantra. That could be for some people, but for most, it's just taking time throughout your day, throughout your week to stop and live in the moment, letting your thoughts be quiet so you can concentrate on one thing while not judging the other thoughts that go into your mind. Okay, we're going to do another quick exercise. So let's be open-minded here. And if you want to, you can close your eyes, but you do not have to. So I want you to look at this image, close your eyes if you would like, sit back in your chair and allow yourself to get comfortable. Okay, while you're relaxing, I want you to imagine that there is a bowl of fresh lemons on the table in front of you. They are freshly picked from the tree, and the oil in the rind is very fragrant. Allow yourself to enjoy the lemony smell. Now, imagine yourself taking a lemon from the bowl, bring the lemon to your nose. You can smell the oil from the smooth skin of the lemon. Now, imagine the lemon has been cut into two. Bring the lemon to your mouth, bite into the lemon, allowing the juices to fill your mouth. So you can type in the chat or think to yourself, what happened when you bit into the lemon? Oftentimes, people start to have their mouth start salivating at the thought of the sour taste. So if that was you, that's a basic form of mindfulness and just shows how powerful your mind is, that you didn't have a lemon in front of you, but just having these thoughts make your mouth start watering, make you want to think about a lemon, even though it's not in front of you. So this is just a little concept to show the powerfulness of your mind and how we could harness that power and use it for our benefits. So speaking of benefits, we want to go into what are the benefits of practicing mindfulness. So there are many. Here are a couple. So increased brain activity. So in 2003, there was a study and it had two groups. So it had a control group, so they didn't do anything, and then a group that practiced mindfulness. They measured their brain activity before the program, immediately after, and then 4 months after the mindfulness training period. So there was a group that did the mindfulness and a group that didn't. They had the same protocols throughout. With this program, researchers found that there was significant activity increased in the front left side of the brain in individuals who practice mindfulness. And that part of the brain is in control of positive emotions. So people who practice mindfulness versus people who didn't, the ones who did, they had a lot more movement in that part of the brain that impacts positive emotions. And then there was also a study with along this about antibodies. So both groups were given an influenza vaccine. And by the end of it, the people who did the mindfulness practices had significantly more antibodies than the ones who didn't. So that was the first study to observe increased brain activity and also heightened immunity due to a meditation. There's lots of other benefits too, such as increased focus. So you're learning to live in that moment, being able to focus on one thing instead of all the thoughts that are coming at you in life, which I think goes into the next one of helping lowering your stress and then increasing your happiness, because those all go hand in hand. So there's many different things that this can impact for you, but these are just a couple of the benefits that I like to highlight. And then you're thinking, who is this for? So anyone can practice mindfulness. It looks different for everyone. I love to just harp on that because it's not a one size fits all. But even kids can practice mindfulness. And to show that there's different ways of doing it, we love to talk about the ways that children can practice mindfulness. But with kids, research has shown that mindfulness can lower anxiety and it can help them learn techniques to be able to calm themselves and give them tools to handle everyday issues. This has also been shown to improve concentration levels, heighten emotion intelligence, improve sleep, develop social skills, and help with sensory development. I think a lot of this leads back to kids, especially today, they're getting so much thrown at them. They're always entertained by something, typically something of a short video or just something in front of them on a tablet, a laptop, anything of the sort. So mindfulness helps them slow down and see really how they feel in that moment and gain those skills needed that'll help them later in life. So a take-home activity that you could do at your own home with a child would be creating a sensory station. So you'd want to create a station so you have multiple different objects and choose them in your home. You don't have to go buy something, but just objects of different textures, colors, scents, anything of that sort. And so you can let the kid know that they can touch, smell, or describe each item thoughtfully and mindfully. So going through each item, either saying or thinking how they feel about it and describing it in their mind or out loud. And this can help kids become more aware of their senses and bring attention to the present moment that they're in. So a super helpful thing, and this is an event for kids, but you could also do it for yourself, of lining a certain amount of things up or just setting aside time to think, how do I feel in this moment? Because everyone has their own journey to a mindfulness state, and some may take more time than others, but you have potential for it to work for you. So we're going to have another practice. I love to give you options for how you can practice mindfulness in your daily lives. This is a commonly known mindful practice called a body scan. I love the body scan because it takes 3 minutes. And even in our busiest day, you have 3 minutes that you can set aside for yourself. And if you're that person that you're like, it is hard for me to get in 3 minutes, you can set an alarm and say, no matter what, when my alarm goes off, I'm taking my 3 minutes for my body scan. So you can either listen to what I'm saying about it, or you can participate also. But with the body scan, once I get you started, thoughts will pop up into your mind. That's okay. Let the thought come and then let it pass. Don't get mad at yourself. It's okay. We're working on it. But it'll be broken up into 3 sections. So this will last about 3 minutes. So if you want to, you can sit where you are, close your eyes, or you can lay down. So most people practice this body scan laying down. So if you want to right now, you can lay down. No one can see you. It's all right. Close your eyes and relax. So go ahead, close your eyes, seated or laying. In the first minute, we're going to think about how are you doing right now? So in this moment, how are you doing? How are you feeling? What's going on? While you're focused on these feelings, thoughts, and sensations that arise, try to give words or phrases to how you're feeling in this moment. I want you to bring attention to the top of your body, to your face. So notice if there's any tension in your jaw and try to let that go. Notice your shoulders, let them hang free. Moving down to your arms, let go of any tightness in your hands. In your stomach, relax the tension. And then also let your legs and feet hang free or just release the weight from them. Okay, completely relaxed. Now we're going to move our thoughts into the awareness of our breath. So as you breathe, notice where your breathing is coming from. Is it from your chest on movement, or is your stomach being the one that moves more? Continue to breathe and notice the exchange from inhaling to exhaling in your body. And then the last minute, we will use this for expansion of our attention outward from our breath. So I want you to feel the ways in which your breathing affects the rest of your body. As we do this, I want you to gently bring back some energy in your body. So move your fingers back and forth. Maybe wiggle your fingers, your toes, roll out your ankles. Gently bring your focus back to yourself in your seat. So thinking about where you are right now, seated or laying down. And open your eyes. Okay, so that was a body scan. If you want to type in the chat, type how you feel now, and if you notice any change throughout the 3 minutes from when we started versus where we're at. So I'll give you time to put anything in the chat if you want, but keeping a quiet mind is rather difficult if you never do it. So thoughts just come left and right to me, but the more you practice it, the more this becomes your norm, the more you get better at getting those thoughts. They pop up and then letting them go out. So not blocking them, not getting frustrated, just letting them go, and then refocusing to where you're at in the moment and not giving yourself judgment. So I love this body scan because, like I mentioned, 3 minutes, you've got time in your day, or at least time in your week, to relax a little bit, especially realizing how tense we are. So I often have my shoulders up in my ears and realizing, relax your jaw, all of the things. So those were a couple of examples. Do you have any ways that you practice mindfulness? So if you do, type it in the chat. Like I mentioned, multiple different definitions, multiple different things. Mayo Clinic's definition is mindfulness is a type of meditation in which you focus on being intensely aware of what you're sensing and feeling in that moment without interpretation or judgment. So I always like to say, if you're a person who feels constantly stressed, I think it's worth giving mindfulness a try. And research shows that it can lower your stress. And If you don't have an example of how to do this, you can do this in your daily lives without setting around time. Like, you don't want to set your 3 minutes away. That's okay. Just find ways to incorporate it into your daily routine. So you can always do it while something happens at work. So whether you're blocking out the background noise or you want to hear them. So I like to be mindful sometimes by just listening to my fan of, okay, just listen to the noise. Don't think about anything else and just breathe and think about where I am at that moment. That could be the sound of your fan, the sound of your refrigerator humming, the sound of a buzzing, just becoming aware of little things that can calm you and bring you into that moment. If you're less of an auditorial person, you're more of a texture person, you could think about textures on the floor as you walk from room to room, the feeling of things around you, whether it be a desk or a paper, just something that plants you in that moment, and you can think about how you feel right then and there. So there are other forms of basic mindfulness besides a body scan. So just finding a place to sit, whether it's just a park bench or in your office, and just think about your breathing, think about the peace, think about the quiet, letting your thoughts come to your mind, and then let them go without judging and refocusing your breathing. There's a sensory way to do it. So just thinking about all your senses. So becoming aware of the sights, sounds, smells, tastes around you. Just thinking about the sensation, what it brings to you, letting it go and moving on. Or an emotional time. So allowing all your emotions to be present. So not judging how you feel in a certain moment, just letting whatever happens, come to you, and then let it flow and go out. There's many different ways mindfulness can be used, though, including mindful eating. So this can be known as a lot of different things. For example, another word for it could be intentional eating. Because have you ever had a bag of popcorn, a bag of chips, and then it's gone? You're like, where did that go? I didn't even think about eating it. I was just eating it without thinking about eating it. So next time you eat, you can sit at a table. First, ask yourself if you're hungry. This is a hard one because I often eat because it's a certain time. I'm like, I have time now to eat. I better eat now or I won't be able to eat later. But I need to ask myself, am I hungry? So look what's on your plate, actually think about it and say, what will you eat first? And make sure you're chewing your food carefully. So actually thinking about the activity that you're doing in that moment. Think about how it tastes. Think about how your stomach feels. Because people, when they become mindful of what they're eating, they often eat less or more, depending on the person. So I want you to think about how you feel. Do you feel full? Because if not, you can have more. But if you feel full and you actually think about it, you're like, okay, I don't need anything else. It's not just because it's in front of me that I'm eating it. I'm thinking about how I feel, thinking about my emotions. So it's really just paying attention to what you're doing. And that can help change your habits. And why this matters is because there's often a relationship between stress and eating. And it is particularly important in light of the growing concerns of health consequences that are associated with unhealthy eating and weight, with the 69.2% of Missourians being overweight to obese. So just knowing in stressful moments, you're more likely to just be without knowing eating. So you really want to, in moments, sit down, think about how you're feeling in the moment, think about if you're hungry and how the food makes you feel to make sure you're getting the right amount of food. With that, there has been research that chaotic environments lead to more of a distracted environment for you. So with this, if you're often in a chaotic environment, it's going to lead you to overeating, to a chaotic mind space, stress, things like that. But there are ways to fix it without getting out of it. So obviously, first thing you'd want to do is probably get out of the chaotic environment. But if you don't have that option, you want to recall a controlled time in your life. So going back to our brain being such an amazing working system, think back to a moment that you have that you feel peaceful. It's very controlled, everything worked out, you love this moment. So even just thinking about that moment can help being in a chaotic environment less stressful. So if you're eating and you're like, I can't get out of the office, it's so stressful, I have to eat in this office. Think about that point in time that is less chaotic for you, it's more controlled, and it'll help you resist the pressure to overeat by just thinking on that moment. So our mind is very, very, very powerful. So I want you to think to yourself or type in the chat, what memory do you have that makes you feel happy, calm, or at peace? Okay, and as you're thinking about that, I want you to feel whatever you need in the moment. So if you need peace right now, find what makes you peaceful. If you need something else, find that. But I want you to relax and breathe. If you need to, you can shut down your eyes and think about the specific moment that you just had. Whether it be a memory from your childhood, something that happened this week, just a memory that puts you at peace. Close your eyes, sit in that moment for a second. Okay, slowly come out of that moment. Think about how that made you feel. And if you had a lot of other thoughts coming to you at that time, that's okay. Like I mentioned, that will happen. You'll get better with practice. Can you name a time or two that this type of practice might be beneficial to your daily life? Many options for me if I'm feeling a lot of stress and I just need to bring my brain back to a moment of peace to get more done. Because if I get overstressed, I can't get anything done after that. So I love thinking of these memories again. So always having that in your back pocket of which memory do you want or what type of feeling are you needing in that moment. Think of a time where you felt that way, and then you can bring yourself back to that space. So I want you to try again. This time, accept any other feeling that's coming to you. Go ahead, close your eyes down and think of a memory. It could be the same one or different that makes you feel what you need right now. All right, go ahead and open your eyes back. It's a good thing to have. It's the power of the brain, though, and it's so impressive how many things your brain can impact on your day-to-day life. So this is a really good practice to take into whatever moment you need, and it doesn't cost anything. So no barrier there. With it, though, we love to set goals. So if you want to set this into your goal, this is a great way to do it. And it'll help you maintain that healthier lifestyle, maybe help you move mindfulness into your daily practice. So you want to set a SMART goal. You can write this down for yourself or just keep it, but this can be used for anything. But today we're using it for mindfulness. So with our goal, S, we want to be specific. So what is your goal, and can you know the goal is happening? So set a specific goal with mindfulness. M, it needs to be measurable. So how often will you do it? So blank times a week, blank times a day, whatever yours is. A is attainable. So on a scale of 1 to 10, when you set your goal, you want to be at least a 7 because we want to be confident that we can do it. So we know we have the opportunity from the start. Because from the start, you don't believe you're going to do it, then you probably won't do it. So you want to be at least a 7 with our attainability. Relevant. So how important is this to you and how does it deal with mindfulness? And then time frame. So when will you do it? So an example of that would be my goal is to practice mindfulness once a day for 5 minutes for the next 3 weeks. And I'm a confidence level of an 8. That's an example. And the biggest one is at the bottom. Do you have anyone to support you with this goal? So having an accountability buddy, whether it be the same goal they have and they're working towards it, helps you so much. So either one, having a buddy going through the same thing with you so you can keep each other accountable, support each other, make sure you're getting your goals, or just having someone knowing that you're doing this. So anytime I'm going to do something that I'm like, man, I'm not sure if I can do it, I tell other people I'm going to do it. So then I do it because I'm like, I can never tell them that I didn't do that I failed, which failure isn't a thing in mindfulness, but it's just something I practice when I'm trying to achieve a goal. I'm like, I can't let them down. I've got to do this. I told them I would. So moving on to our last one after you can make that goal. Here is my contact information, and this is a time for questions. So anything you have, type it in the chat. It can be about mindfulness or extension in general. But thank you for taking the time to come to this, taking the time for you, and trying to move your practices into real life. So any questions you have?
I'm feeling super relaxed and tired now. I need a mindful nap.
Absolutely. It relaxes me too, but it's interesting. So, like, oftentimes you're never relaxed unless you're going to go to sleep. So, when you're relaxed like that, your body's like, must be sleep time.
Yeah, night time.
I'm not stressed. I must be sleeping.
You guys
So
had
yeah,
some
but
great comments. Thank you for participating. It makes it so much more fun to read other people's messages and right?
I'm just seeing those. Okay.
Yeah, we had some good stuff. I want to call out Peter because he had some dad jokes. You were talking about the lemons and you're like asked how it made you feel. And Peter said it literally soured the moment.
Soured the moment. I'm sorry, these are just popping up for me.
Oh, they are?
Yes. Your mouth started to water. So y'all did the lemon. Oh my goodness. That's the thing. It's so crazy. You're like, I hope they're tasting the lemon. That's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
I feel heavy, more relaxed and at peace, escaping for the moment. I love that because it's like a little vacation throughout your day of like so much piles up with what you need to do in the day. It's good to be like, escape for a second, something that's zero cost. It's something that you can control with your own mind. You can do it. Oh, you do it with prayer and Bible reading. You color, doing embroidery. So I love things that are small details with either just reading or then something with your hands. Listening to the sounds around you. Oh my goodness. Yes. So something auditorial, listening or reading a book, God's word, relaxing on the beach. Oh, reading a book. So getting the visual part and then the gentle breeze. So realizing what's around you, being with my late parents, a quiet house. Whoa, y'all have so much. I love it.
Yeah, they were on it. Good job, guys. Well, like you said, I
Yes.
think it's such a great tool that it's free. It takes literally minutes. I've been taught this a couple times, and I always try to do it whenever I'm feeling kind of overwhelmed. And I usually do the sensory auditory thing where I just sit and I've been taught to feel the chair that I'm sitting in. Feel how my arms hit the armrest. What sound you hear around you, whatever it is, it's an okay sound, and just trying to do that chills me out for a second.
Yeah, because you often just go into like overdrive of just doing things like autopilot. There we go. Autopilot of just doing things and doing them. And then you realize time flies and you want to appreciate the moment. So I think this is a great way to appreciate the moment you're in, live them out and really see them to their full extent, not getting distracted, but also welcoming in other thoughts. And it's a great practice to have in your back pocket. So thank you guys for sharing how you felt throughout it. And I hope you're able to use this and move it into your practice, like I mentioned, with our SMART goals. So if you ever want to share those with me, you have my email or you could type in the chat. But wonderful job today, guys. Thank you for being here with me. And I'm glad that you tasted the lemon and got a little bit of feeling of relaxation to go into the rest of your day. And hopefully you can adopt these practices to move into the rest of your week and your life.
Thank you all very much for joining us. Like Sydney said, I will be sending the recording of this to you if you've registered. And this also will go up on YouTube. So if you wanted to revisit it, there's also tons of other education there, whether it's heart health, exercise ideas, nutrition ideas, tons of information on our YouTube channel. And then just like you signed up for this event today, go back to nkch.org and find some other educational offerings that you might like. We have in-person, exercise, and all kinds of things. So thank you very much, and we hope to see you guys again soon. Thanks, Sydney.
All right, thank you.
Bye, y'all.